voices of the guards on the other side of the door. Presumptively, if he could hear them, they could hear him pounding and kicking on the door, yet no one came to help.
Are you alleging they left them there intentionally?
We don't know for certain how it is that they couldn't have heard what he heard. If you hear voices on the other side of the door, arguably they hear you. The reality is that there are a whole lot of questions that I think that they're going to have to answer.
Well, but in your suit, you plainly say that there was a willful and wanton denial of food, water, toilet, and that his pleas for help were ignored. You're alleging that this was an intentional act.
They consciously disregarded his safety. They knew that he was being passed on to the room, and yet and still didn't keep track of him, didn't make sure that he had exited. All they had to do was just simply check their logs. They didn't do that.
Well, negligence and willful intent, those are two different things, aren't they?
Of course, of course. And you can be negligent and you can be willful and wanton. And if you consciously disregard someone's safety like they did here, they were willful and wanton.
So Farad, do you accept the sheriff's remarks that it was a perfect storm and a combination of things that went horribly wrong, and that he talked to you and said you understood what had happened? He's commented on this already. Do you accept that?
We obviously we've sued the county because we don't accept the offer of explanation that they're making. It doesn't make sense. This shouldn't happen. The average visit is supposed to go for no more than 30 minutes. He was in there for more than 30 hours.
Mr. Polk, can you talk about some of the things you've gone through mentally since this has happened?
We're not going to have him do that right now for a whole host of reasons. The first and foremost being the challenges that he's dealing with right now.
Well, could you just talk about some, how difficult it's been?
Suffice it to say that he's having some real challenges. If he can't go and see his son, that first and foremost indicates that he's having a problem.
Is Mr. Polk a Chicago resident? What neighborhood does he live in, and what kind of work does he do?
He lives in Chicago, and he can share with you. I don't want you to give your address.
No, I don't care.
Right. Well, I live in Chicago. I sit on the west side in the Austin area, and that's it.
What did he do for work, sir?
We're going to get into those things as time.
Did he miss work in those 30 hours?
We're going to be dealing with all sorts of claims for damages. Those things that apply, we will address, and those that don't, we won't.
What would you like out of this lawsuit, Mr. Polk?
I'm gonna leave that to my attorney to figure out. I mean, I'm not really knowing what it is that you're supposed to look at a lawsuit, because I've never been participating in like this before.
Well, would you like to make sure this doesn't happen again to someone else?
Of course.
Of course, I wouldn't want it to happen again to someone else.
Is there a certain dollar amount you're seeking?
Right now, we are discussing how it is that this happened. Right now, we're discussing why it is that this happened. We filed suit, and we are going to be seeking compensation for the damages that he is experiencing. But at this point in time, our focus is not on a dollar amount.
And can you talk any more about during those 30 hours? Obviously, you were trying to get out, but did you sleep? Did you pray? What else happened?
I did all sorts of things. I prayed and I sleep when I feel like I was getting too hot. I try to sleep. Laying on the concrete floor. It's kind of just relaxing.
You said you lost track of time. When you were finally let out and it was the pieces were being put together, did you think you'd been in there for 4 days? Did you think you'd been in there for a day? Were you surprised to hear 30 hours?
Yeah, I was surprised to hear that. I thought I was in there way longer than that. It's just gone.
Sorry, when the fire department finally came, you had to convince the people that you weren't an inmate, is that right?
When the fire department came and let him out, he was put on handcuffs and was questioned. We have problems with that.
Mr. Polk, at any point while you were in there, did it start going through your mind, I may never get out of here? I mean, walk us through that thought process you dealt with.
Yeah, I mean, you see those things. You figure you're not gonna see your grandkids anymore. But this get carried. You're not gonna see your grandkids, and faces and people you love ain't gonna get a chance to see goodbye. I think it would have told my son more so than anything. Father lost his life, come to visit him. You know what I mean? It's just all kind of stuff goes through your mind.
And how many children do you have? It's not just the son you are visiting,
I have 4 children.
or children?
And I think I'd read or heard that you've been to see your son every week, pretty much consistently, or?
Yes, sir.
For how long, sir?
For about a year now.
A year, and how much longer is he incarcerated for?
I have no idea. That's up to the courts.
Is he waiting for a trial or something?
Yes.
But you've been visiting him every week.
I visit every week.
How long do you think before you might be able to go back and visit him
I
again?
have no idea.
When the sprinkler was activated, did the room fill up? Was it flooding? Were you standing in water at one point?
The reality is that there are a whole host of things that we're going to get into later on. It's not gonna happen right now.
But you had to have stitches, that's accurate, right?
Yeah, yes.
So did you clip it on the sprinkler as you were reaching? Did you climb up? Can you just tell us how you got it activated, since we don't have any?
Well,
The way it worked is that the ceiling, he had to break through the ceiling and was able to get up on top of the ceiling. When he got up on top of the ceiling and was coming down, upon being released, he ended up cutting his thumb. There is some sort of metal or aluminum that encased the portion of the ceiling that he cut his hand on.
Well, you say broke through the ceiling, you mean there was like a lowered ceiling or a false ceiling that he had to go over?
Effectively, he was able to break through what amounts to be a false ceiling, and then was able to get on to the ceiling ledge, per se, where he was able to finally reach the sprinkler system.
Can you talk about what it was like to finally have the fire department there, rescue him, and then to be handcuffed and questioned? I mean,
His problem right now in doing that is that it makes him relive what he already has gone through, and I'm not interested in having him do what he's not comfortable in doing.
Can you hold up your hand so we can see the Band-Aid?
that's stitches.
Just keep it there for a second if you don't mind.
How many stitches?
3, I believe.
3. In your thumb, right?
On my
Okay.
thumb.
And where were you treated for that?
Rush Hospital.
Mr. Pope, is there anything you would like to add about this? We've all been called here to speak with you, but I understand there's some limitations on what can be shared. What do you want to make sure that we all hear as we stand before you now?
Well, it's just a matter of the mind. You know, your mind seems to replay what your heart won't delete. So, you know, anytime I get some downtime, it just keeps